Why do I have to tell my children to get dressed and put on their shoes so many times? Did they not hear me the first time I said it? Much of the time, it happens like this. Please get dressed. Please get dressed. Please get dressed. Please brush your teeth. Please go get your water bottle. Put on your shoes, please. Put on your shoes, please. Put on your shoes, please. I can't find my shoes. Oh, where are the shoes? At this point, we will definitely be late. I find one shoe in the bathroom and the other in the office. I bring it over and I say, "Here, please put them on. We need to go." I give myself a little pat on the back for keeping my cool through it all. And somehow we make it to the camp bus in time. Then there are the mornings that don't go like that. Too many, if I'm being honest. I ask my kids repeatedly to do all the things they need to do to get ready. I ask them to put on their shoes for the 20th time. And of course, it's even harder to find them today than it was yesterday. I'm starting to lose it a little. I find the shoes and hand them over, and they still don't put them on. And that's when I raise my voice and start the angry counting. Are you familiar with angry counting? Okay. 1, put on your shoes. 2, put on your shoes. 3, put on your shoes. Okay, I'm not really yelling at you the way I yell. but it's also not that bad. It's not that bad. My kids are upset now, which certainly does not make them move any faster. I'm upset now, not just because we will definitely be late, but because I promised myself that I would stop raising my voice like that. I let myself down. Once again, I broke my promise, lost my temper, and made everything worse. This week's Torah portion begins with a clear statement about promises. So I'm in a lot of trouble here. If a person makes a vow to God or takes an oath upon himself, he shall not break his pledge. He must carry out all that has crossed his lips. What did a pledge look like in the time of the Torah? A person might vow to bring an animal sacrifice, I don't suggest that, or abstain from wine, or not shave for a set amount of time. Why make a promise like this? To be more pious, or to make a deal with God in hopes of ending one's suffering? If you end my suffering, God, then I'll do something for you. There are entire tractates of the Mishnah and Talmud and volumes of Jewish legal writing on vows and oaths. Suffice it to say that Judaism takes promises and their follow-through extremely seriously. And because they take oaths so seriously, the ancient rabbis of about 2,000 years ago strongly discouraged us from making vows, because once we make them, we shouldn't break them. The Rambam, one of the most renowned scholars of the Middle Ages, says if someone declares, and I do not want you to get any ideas here, but if someone declares, during Passover, I will not eat matzah, or during the festival of Sukkot, I will not dwell in the sukkah, or I will not wrap tefillin. That's the thing that you put around the arms and around the head. In other words, they are forbidden from doing those things, by the way. If they say, I'm not going to eat matzah on Passover, you're not eating matzah on Passover. If a person takes an oath not to partake in a commandment, they must abide by it. If they then go on to eat matzah or sit in the sukkah, they're liable for lashes. So while Rambam undoubtedly believed that it was important to observe festivals and adhere to required practices, he taught that a person must fulfill the obligation one places upon herself, even if it means forgoing other important requirements. How should we understand this? Vows and oaths in Judaism involve God. Once a person makes a promise to God, he better keep it. Rashi, another prolific medieval commentator, and I know I'm throwing a lot of Torah at you, but I know you can handle it. He explains what our Torah portion means when it says, Lo yachel debaro, he shall not break his pledge. Rashi explains that here, the word yachel means to profane or desecrate. In other words, a pledge is holy, so a broken pledge diminishes holiness. Rabbi Ariel Root Wolpe helped me understand this idea in the context of the kinds of promises we might make. And no offense to Rashi or Rambam, but I like hers the best. She explains Rashi's point, saying, don't treat your word as if it is unholy, because the words we say with the goal of becoming a better person are inherently holy. And if you don't follow through, you are not honoring the holy power in you. If only it were easier to make promises and keep them. Surely we want to honor the holy power within ourselves. But the reality is, we are not very good at keeping the promises we make. Perhaps the rabbis were weary of us making pledges because they understood something about human psychology, that willpower and self-control alone do not compel us to do what we say we will do. Americans tend to think that willpower and self-control will take us where we want to go, but the truth is, it usually isn't enough. While listening to an episode of NPR's Hidden Brain, you know me, you know I like Hidden Brain a lot, I learned that people follow through on promises when they build habits. We need to build habits because we live much of our lives on autopilot going through the motions. Commitments, even simple ones like adding a glass of water a day to be healthier, will be most successful if we build a habit around them. And the habit will likely take at least a couple of months to stick. How many of you were here last week for Shabbat? Okay, so a good number of you heard Rabbi Fischel remind us that the high holidays will be here before we know it. Breathe. It's okay. It's okay. We're gonna be okay. It's time for us to begin to think about how we can become the best versions of ourselves. Part of being the best versions of ourselves means fulfilling the promises we've made. Rabbi Fischel gave us some excellent suggestions for commitments we might make as we approach a new year, such as spending 5 minutes of uninterrupted time with each of our kids, or spending 15 minutes a day talking and holding hands with our partner, or setting aside regular time to write and reflect on how we have met or missed the mark this week. These actions could bring more holiness into our lives and the lives of those around us. The problem is, even if we make commitments wholeheartedly with pure intentions, if we don't create the habits around them, we probably won't fulfill them. Next year, around this time, we will look back on our aspirations, how we plan to change or live differently, and we might feel like we let ourselves down and other people down. So how do we help ourselves follow through? How do we enable ourselves to live up to our promises? We decrease friction. We remove barriers. We work to figure out what prohibits us from doing what we say we will do. I'm sure we have some behavioral scientist or psychologist in the room. I know we have one. So you'll tell me afterwards if I'm right. But behavioral scientist and psychologist Wendy Wood shared on Hidden Brain that when she decided she wanted to start running, she slept in her gym clothes. This practice enabled her to wake up, go for her run, and get back home in time to make her son's breakfast. When Wendy decided that she wanted to overcome her struggle to sit down and write, she blocked time for it on her calendar every day. Imagine that. What does this mean for us? If we promise to spend 5 minutes of special time as Rabbi Fischel called it, with our child without distractions, maybe we have a set place where we always put our phone before beginning the time together. Maybe we schedule that 15 minutes of face-to-face time with our partner on a joint calendar. Maybe we put our journal and pen on our pillow so that we see it right before we get into bed. Maybe I locate my children's shoes every night before I go to sleep and create a habit where my kids get dressed every morning before we turn on the incredibly gripping show Dino Dana. Maybe I even train myself to identify that feeling of rising anger and learn to take a deep breath every time it comes on. With a few small changes, I might actually be able to follow through on what I promised myself about how I want to parent my children. Maybe angry counting could become a thing of the past. So as we move closer to our high holiday season, let's start the process of looking backwards and forwards. Let's ask ourselves, what prevented me from following through? What promises do I want to make this year? How can I set myself up to honor the holy power in myself? If we can figure out the answers to these questions, we might just look back in a year from now and say, I followed through. I fulfilled my promises. I changed for the better. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.